Hey there. I saw Centurion yesterday. Centurion is the fourth film written and directed by Neil Marshall. The first being Dog Soldiers, second being The Descent, third being Doomsday, and now we have Centurion. I've been on the Neil Marshall bandwagon since the beginning. I proudly claim that. I rented Dog Soldiers soon after it came out on DVD. I loved it. Loved it so much that I wrote a mass email to my friends saying, "You have to see this movie. Go, please rent this movie." So I've been a fan of Neil Marshall since the beginning. And then he just happened to make The Descent. I saw that in the theater. For lack of a better phrase, it kind of changed my life. Meaning that I felt like a different person when I walked out of the theater. I love The Descent. I think it is probably the horror movie of the last decade. Nothing much else I can say about it. Doomsday was crazy. Was indulgent beyond indulgent. Nuts. Bloody nuts. Centurion kind of follows the same path. Except it's a little more boring. Again, I'm a fan. I have faith in Neil Marshall. I think he has many great movies in him. And even though The Descent is a masterpiece, I think he has more in him. And I don't think we've seen the last of him. I really can't give Centurion anything above a 5. I'm giving Centurion a 5. The opening credits are really cool. The closing credits are really cool. Everything in between is okay. I only recognize two. Let me tell you what it's about. It's about a centurion, a Roman warrior. It's a period piece set in, I don't even know what year it is. Something BC. Maybe 400 BC, I want to say. Again, total guess. A centurion is captured behind enemy lines, escapes enemy lines, and basically is put in with the Ninth Legion, the Roman Ninth Legion, who are sent into battle. They are defeated in battle and must retreat. And it is their mission, and for the rest of the movie, they're trying to reach the safe zone. They're trying to reach their own camp. And they are being ruthlessly hunted. And that's pretty much the movie. I recognize two of the actors. Dominic West, who's in it a little bit. He's definitely the most recognizable face. He's one of the great television characters of all time, Detective McNulty from HBO's The Wire. There was another face I recognized, older, bigger. I've seen him in several things, but I don't know his name. So only two faces I recognized. There's zero time spent on character development. A lot of the characters seem like carbon copies of each other. I realize that they're all warriors and they're all Legionnaires or whatever. So I know they're going to be all similar, but really, I was bored with all of the people. None of them really popped. I never really cared about any of the characters, even the character we're supposed to care about, who's running for his life the entire time. So there's that. It was very well directed, as you would expect. Neil Marshall loves his violence. And he knows how to pace a story, even though I was a little bored with it and the story is thin. It was excellently paced. I felt tense a lot of the time. I did find myself sitting on the edge of my seat. But that's because he can stage action so well. And again, that claustrophobia of the descent is here too. It's like he's not afraid, Neil Marshall is not afraid to get in close to the action that he wants to show. Or sometimes, like I thought of 300, which you can kind of compare and contrast this film with. With the battle scenes in 300, you're like standing 10 yards back, and you're like looking at all this stuff go down. You know, wow, that guy just got his leg chopped off. But with this film, you're like there. He's like holding your head right up next to some guy getting stabbed in the throat. And, you know, he's not afraid to get you right up there. And a lot of the times he's not afraid to show off his bad special effects. It's cartoonish in some parts. People's heads explode. And I mean, they explode. It's fun, but it takes itself too seriously. There's this pompous air to it. The film both begins and ends with the same line. My name is so-and-so, and this is neither the beginning nor the end of my story. And whatever. I thought it was funny because, well, when he says it at the end, well, it's kind of the end of your story. And when he says it at the beginning, it was almost the beginning. So, I don't know. It just had this, like, pompous air that I thought it was taking itself too seriously at some points. But I still had fun, and I think Neil Marshall is an important talent. Again, I think he has got many, many great films in him. He has not made a film in the traditional studio system, so I have to respect that. He makes the films that he wants to make. He pretty much has a final cut control already on his fourth film. And maybe even had that by The Descent, I'm not sure. In fact, he probably didn't because they cut it for America. But anyway, so I think he's a true talent. And I think he's just loving showing off his directorial techniques. And maybe he needs to find himself a good co-writer and work on his writing chops a little bit. Again, I thought there was no two-dimensional, let alone three-dimensional character in this movie. They're all pretty 1D. Cinematography was good. It was well edited, flowed nicely. Again, they know how to pace a story, you know. It was like an hour and 45 minutes, and it did fly by. So there's that. Again, 5. I'm getting it right in the middle. It's just something I can't recommend to everybody. It would make a good rental. Definitely no reason to pay money for it to see it in the theater. I feel that it's important to do that. One, because I'm a Neil Marshall supporter. And if you make The Descent, you basically have a career pass for me. I will see and analyze your movie with great fever if you make The Descent. But again, 5. You know, right down the middle. If you're a fan of medieval war movies, you can see it. If you're a fan of Neil Marshall, see it. If you're a fan of gratuitous violence, see it. But if you're not any of those things, you could probably live without it. The acting is really intense, but again, it's kind of one note, and again, all of the characters are similar, so they're all like, I don't know. The acting never really moved me. The characters never really moved me. But luckily, the talents of Neil Marshall are there, and I think that's truly why I wanted to see this movie, and I think that's why, if anyone sees this movie, that's the reason why. It's for Neil Marshall, and to watch his talent evolve. So that's it. That's Centurion. It's a 5. Rent it sometime. If you like the things I mentioned, you won't be disappointed. Alright, thanks. Bye.